I invite our resource person, Professor Somashekhar Pillai sir, to this session. Over to you, sir. Somashekhar sir.
Good morning, all. Okay, today we will have two sessions. The first on correlation regression and the second on error analysis. Okay, then can you view this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. Okay, today we will have a session on correlation and regression analysis. Then let us see what is correlation and what is regression. So we will take a simple example of two related variables. So the height and weight of individuals. And everybody know that there is a relation between these variables. Okay. So there is a relation between height and weight. For a person with a particular height, there should be a particular range of weight. And now the question is, what relation exists between height and weight mathematically? And which is the dependent variable? What is the degree of relation between the variables? That means how much of the variation in the dependent variable can be explained by the independent variable. So we can answer these questions by the techniques correlation and regression. Okay. So here we study, we can check whether there is any observed relation, and if so, what is the type of relation, and then what is the model corresponding to that, and what is the degree of relationship. So you just take, this is the case of a data which gives the height and weight of 31 individuals. So you can see this is the data. Okay, the heights are given. This is in centimeter and the weight in kilogram. Then, in order to check whether there is any relation, observed relation between the variable, you can go for a scatter plot or a scatter diagram. This is a simple diagram in which you can take one variable, usually the independent variable on the x-axis and the dependent variable on the y-axis. Okay. And can you see this? Whether the slide is moving?
Yes, sir. Slide is moving.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then here you can observe that these points are clustered around a straight line. So we can infer that there exists a linear relation between the variables. So what is the physical meaning of the linear relation? The physical meaning of the linear relation is, it is exactly, or the relationship, if you plot the relationship on the straight line, that indicates the rate of change is same at all points. The rate of change is same at all points. But if the relation is not linear, the rate of change will differ at different points. That will also change with respect to the values of the variables. Then now you can see, if there is a linear relation, mathematically, that relation is y equal to a plus bx, y equal to a plus bx. So here y is the weight, the weight which is the dependent variable, and x is height which is the independent variable. A is the y-intercept and b is the slope. So now there is a question, why I did choose this weight as dependent variable and why I have been chosen height as the independent variable. Or how do we choose a variable as a dependent variable and independent variable? If you take natural relationship, there may be a bidirectional relationship or a unidirectional relationship. Some variables are related bidirectionally. For example, the price and demand. When the price gets changes, the demand gets changed, and when the demand gets changed, price also will change. So we can say that it is a bidirectional relationship. So if the relation is a bidirectional relationship, you can choose the dependent variable as you wish according to the objective of the study, objective of the model. For example, in order to predict the price for a particular demand, you can choose price as the dependent variable. Suppose we have to predict the demand for a particular price, then demand must be used as a dependent variable. So this is the criteria for choosing a dependent variable if the relationship is bidirectional. But in certain cases, the relationship is not bidirectional, it may be unidirectional. So that means if one variable gets changed, the other will change, but the reverse is not correct. So here the height and weight is a unidirectional relationship, because when the height increases, the weight, it will affect the weight. Okay. When the height increases, usually the weight also get increased, or it will be same. Okay. But the reverse is not correct. When the weight increases, the height need not increase, or height need not change. When the weight change, height need not change. But the height change, usually the weight change. So that is why the doctors usually check, or health people usually check, what will be the weight for a particular height. Okay. They won't use in the reverse order. First find the weight, then height. No, that is not the right way. They first measure the height and then find out the weight, and whether the weight is as per the relationship between the height and weight. So since it is a unidirectional relationship and the weight changes with respect to the height, we choose weight as the dependent variable and height as the independent variable. So this is the criteria for choosing a dependent variable from a collection or set of variables. Again, there are certain questions. Whether this relation is perfect. If a relation is perfect, it is purely a mathematical relation. If not, what is the form of relation? And how can we estimate AN? How do we check the relation is perfect? So if the relation is perfect, you can see just in the scatter diagram, you can observe that the relation is perfect. All points will be exactly on the straight line. The height is perfect. All the points will be exactly on the straight line. So that is a mathematical relation. But here you can see the points are not exactly on the straight line, but they are clustered around a straight line. So that indicates there are certain factors which influences the variation or the relationship between x and y. Okay. So this relation is not a pure mathematical relation. So some factors affect the relationship between the height and weight, apart from this weight and height. So if so, that relation is a statistical relation or it is a random model. So we have to modify this relationship y equal to a plus bx accordingly. So how do you convert it into a statistical model? Okay. The scatter diagram shows the points are not exactly on a straight line. The weight of two individuals with the same height may not be the same. But this is not possible in the case of a mathematical relation. If they are perfectly linearly related, if you take two individuals with the same height, the weight also should be same. The rate of change in weight with respect to the height may not be exactly same for all. Thus, we can infer that either there are some factors which influence weight are missing, or measurements are not perfect, or both. Okay. So this is the reason, or these are the possible reason for the inexactness of the relationship. So what we should do? So in that case, we modify the relationship by adding another term, that is E or epsilon usually. So the modified model will be y equal to a plus bx plus epsilon or E. This E represents all factors not under consideration and the possible measurement errors. There may be systematic factors which influence the relationship. There may be random factors which influence the relationship. Okay, so you please listen. The dependent variable can be expressed as a function of the independent variable x plus the systematic factors which influence, or systematic errors which influence the relationship, and the random factors which influence that. Okay. So, but all the systematic and random factors together we considered as E, or whatever be the factors except X influences Y are considered, or which consist of, or which is included in the term E. And this term E is unknown and random because it includes random factors. So since it is a random model, it should be treated statistically. Okay, and this resultant model is called simple linear regression model. Simple linear regression model. Then this a plus bx is called the systematic or deterministic component, and E is called random or error component. Okay, a plus bx is called the deterministic component. Then, what are the other scatter plots? The first one, it shows an exact relationship between x and y. So it is a mathematical relation. You need not go through any statistical procedure to construct the model, because it is very simple to construct a mathematical relationship y equal to a plus bx. If you have 2 points, you can easily draw or construct a relationship. As you know, if x1, y1 and x2, y2 are 2 points on a straight line, the slope will be obtained as y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. And also you can find out the intercept, y-intercept very easily. You need not go for any mathematical procedure to construct the equation of the line. Okay. But the second one, which is not a perfect relationship, and it is a bilinear relationship. Okay, a quadratic relationship. The third one you can see, it is an exponential relationship. And the fourth one, you can see the values are distributed randomly without any pattern. So that means the figure which express or which is given in yellow color, it indicates there is no relationship between x and y. So this is the way we interpret the scatter plots. Okay, the diagram which shaded with yellow color indicates there is no relationship between x and y as per the data. And the last one indicates there is a straight line relationship between x and y, but the relationship is negative or inverse. The first one, it is a perfect relationship with the positive slope, and this is an inexact relationship, or this is a statistical relationship with a negative slope. This is a mathematical relationship with the positive slope, etc. So this is the way by constructing a scatter plot we can interpret the type of relationship between the variables. And this modeling falls in the broad category of linear models. What do you mean by linear models? Because many people believe that a linear model is a model which is of the form y equal to a plus bx. It is not true. In statistics, we call linear models when the relationship is linear in parameters, not in terms of variable. Okay. For example, y equal to a plus bx plus is obviously a linear relationship. But the quadratic relation y equal to a plus bx plus c square plus e, it is also considered as a linear relationship. Okay. Because the second one is linear in parameters. We observe the relationship whether it is in linear in parameters or not. We are not considering the variable part. So a quadratic relation is also a linear model. And similarly, a third degree polynomial, if you take a third degree polynomial, it also a linear model. It is also a linear model. Okay. And there are certain models which can be converted into linear by transformation. So that is called intrinsically linear models. Okay. For example, y equal to ax raised to b. It is also considered as a linear model because if you take the logarithmic transformation, you will get log y equal to log a plus b into log x. And you can express it as y equal to a plus bx form. So it is linear. Y is equal to ab raised to x is also linear. There also you can take the logarithmic transformation and it will be of the form y equal to a plus bx. And can anybody give an example of a model which is not linear? So all these models are linear models. So can anybody give an example of a non-linear model? A model which is not linear. Anybody? Can anybody give an example of a model which is not linear? No? I have given a relationship in the chat box. Y equal to a plus b raised to x. You can see that. Y equal to a plus b raised to x. Okay. It is not a linear relationship. It is a non-linear relationship. Because you cannot transform that relationship into linear form. Okay. So this point is very important by constructing linear models or regression models. And generally the the models in statistics are classified into 3 categories. The first one is the usual simple linear regression model. Okay. Then general linear regression model and The next one, generalized linear regression model. And then the non-linear models. So what are the three models? General linear regression model, generalized linear regression model, and non-linear models. These are the three categories of models we construct usually. Any doubts regarding these points? Anybody have any doubt? Are you getting these points or not?
Yes, sir. Please
Okay.
continue.
Okay. Then anybody can say the difference between general linear model and generalized linear model? Because nobody asked any question. Then can anybody say what is the difference between general linear model and generalized linear model? Okay, if nobody is interested in these aspects, I will go to the next slide. If you take a simple linear regression model, this is the scatter plot observed. And what is the principle of this linear regression model, let us see. The regression model gives an exact linear relationship between the expected or average value of I and X. Since the relation is statistical, you cannot find out the exact value of Y for a given X. So we just take the mathematical expectation or conditional expectation, that is expectation of Y given X. Or what will be the expected value of Y for a given X. This is the thing we usually do in regression or construction of regression. Because the right side is random. Okay, you can only find the expected or the possible estimated value of Y for a particular value of X. So then what is the expected value? Expected means the average value. So definitely the actual observed value of Y differ from the expected value of Y an unexplained or random factor, by an unexplained or random factor. So that means if you draw a line in between these clustered points, if that is the fitted line, then if you take any point on the x-axis, there will be 2 points. One point is the observed value, the other point will be the expected value. So the difference between this term is the error. For example, this is the straight line which is given in white color, which is the expected value of Y, which is equal to A plus Bx fitted value. So if you take one point like this, the point which is on the straight line is called the fitted value. Okay, or the expected value. But the actual value comes here. So the error is the difference between these two. Okay, and this error is called the residual error. This is very important in error analysis. This is called the residual error. Okay, the true value and the predicted value. And the difference between these two is called the residual error or error. So if you take all the errors, all these errors along or among all these points, and if you take the sum of all these things, its value will be 0 because the line drawn exactly in the central of the distributed points, or they are the mean line. We call this is the expected line, this is the mean line. So we have a property on arithmetic mean. If you take the sum of deviations of any set of values from arithmetic mean, it will be always 0. So if you simply take the errors and take the sum of that, it will be 0 for any model or any set of points. So you cannot do anything by just taking the absolute errors, that is called absolute residual errors. Okay. So what usually we do, then we use a principle that is called principle of least square or least square principle. The least square principle says that the best estimates of the parameters of a model are the values of the parameters which minimizes the sum of squared residual errors. The sum of squared residual errors. We will take the sum of squared residual errors, not the sum of errors. Because if you take the sum of errors, it will be 0 always. So we take the sum of squares, and the values of A and B which minimizes the sum of squares are called the best estimates of the parameters, and this is the principle of least squares. So that means the least square regression line minimizes the SSE, which is defined here, with respect to the estimates of A and B. So you can use the minimization principle in calculus. Since SSE is the sum of squares of residual errors, you have to find out the values of the parameters so that this SSE is minimum with respect to A and B. And differentiate SSE with respect to A and you will get one equation. And differentiate this with respect to B, you will get another equation. These two equations are called normal equations. These are called normal equations. So then there is a question, why it is called normal equations? Any doubt regarding this? Any question?
So there is a question in the chat box. Can you please go through it?
Yes. If you take Z is equal to Y equal to Z is equal to Y minus A, then you can take the logarithm. That will be log Y minus A is equal to X into log B. That is true. But the problem is, here B is in linear, but A is not in linear. Okay? Because in order to find out the value of A, you have to take the exponential of the right side. So then it will become a nonlinear model. Is it okay? Y minus A equal to B raised to A, X. That is okay. It is not linear, that is intrinsically linear. Then to convert it into a linear model, you have to take the logarithm. And if you take the logarithm, left side will be logarithm of Y minus A. Finally, our objective is to estimate the value of A and B. Then what happens? If you express that if you express A, it will be in non-linear form. So that is the problem of that one. But you can convert the right side into linear. That is okay. That is true. Because once you express this into a linear form, it must be linear in parameters. That is the important point I mentioned. It must be linear in parameters. So A and B, the equation, if you take the equation, A and B should be the factors which we consider, and the coefficients are the values of the variables. Okay, that is why we say that it is not a linear model. Then these equations are called normal equations. The reason is these two equations are perpendicular equations. Since these two equations are perpendicular equations, definitely this will intersect a single point. So these normal equations guarantee a unique estimate of A and estimate of A and B. So the principle of least squares guarantee a unique value for the parameters. So that is why it is called normal equations. Then if you do this process of differentiation and solving these two equations, you will get the estimate of the regression or the parameters as B1 equal to, that means the intercept, the slope, SSXY. So that is the covariance between X and Y divided by SSX, which is the variance of X, sum of squares X. Then B0 can be taken as Y bar minus B1 into X bar. This is the estimate of the intercept. So these are called the least square estimates. Okay. Then this term is called covariance. Are you familiar with the term covariance? Shall I explain it? Are you familiar? Are you know the meaning of the covariance term? Why this covariance term comes in the relationship? Then if you choose the previous data and compute the values, you can find out the variance is obtained as this one. The covariance is obtained as this value. The estimate of the slope is this one, 0.51, and B0 is the intercept. So finally, you will get the fitted model as Y is equal to minus 21.6 plus 0.51x. So what is the real meaning of this model? How do you explain this model? This explains when the height increases 1 centimeter, the average increase in weight will be 0.51 kilogram. It will be 0.51 kilogram. Okay. So that means, and also if take the initial height of a child, that is a newborn child, if you put that value there, you will get the expected weight of the child. Expected weight of the child. It is usually some or 2.5 to 3.5, or there may be a slight variation. There will be an average weight of 3 kilograms. And the physical meaning of this term 0.51 is if there is an increase in height of 1 centimeter, there will be a respective change in weight as 0.51 kilogram. But this will not be exactly 0.51 because it is only an estimate. So now the question is this slope, how much this slope can vary? That is an important question. So in order to get that, you have to find out the standard error of the slope. And by constructing or by computing the standard error, you can find out the confidence interval of the slope. So if you get the confidence interval, you can predict the possible variation of the weight for a particular height. That is why the weight height relationship table is expressed as interval. It is not in point scale. Okay. For example, for a person who has the weight 150 kilogram, the normal weight may be expressed as some, for example, 50 to 60 kilogram or something like that. It is not an exact value. So this interval value is actually the confidence interval. This confidence interval will be computed by computing this slope value in a general population and computing the confidence interval. If you take a large number of individuals and measure their height and weight, you will get an accurate model which shows the relationship between height and weight. Okay. So this is the logic of constructing a linear model. In statistics, we at the maximum, we try to construct the model as a linear model. For example, suppose a relationship between the variable may be at a third degree, what we call, we try to construct a model which is the first degree or second degree. So sometimes there may be a better prediction value for a higher degree model. Even in the linear model, the degree may be higher. So it may be a third degree, it may be a fourth degree or something like that. So in order to predict the dependent variable, it will be better to use the exact model. Exact model means the higher order model. But the problem is, if you choose a higher order model, the physical interpretation will be difficult. Okay. So in this simple linear regression model, you can easily interpret the values of the parameters. The one value, that is slope, is the rate of change of y with respect to x. The other value is the value of y when x is equal to 0. The corresponding value at the origin. But if it is a polynomial model, then also you can say that which is the quadratic coefficient, that also can be explained physically up to a level. But if it is fourth degree or fifth degree, etc., you cannot physically interpret the meaning of the coefficients, higher order coefficients. So usually, if you have to predict interpret the physical meaning of the coefficients, we approximate the higher order model to a simple linear regression model or a quadratic regression model. Okay. Then, in order to construct a regression model, there are certain data assumptions and the relationship assumptions. The assumptions are, there should be a natural linear relation between x and y, because a model cannot say that the variables are related. The relationship is natural, because these are the common mistakes made in many studies. Usually the people will take even in the published paper, we can find out, people will take two variables, that means the data of two variables, and construct a linear relationship, and they say that the variables are related because of this linear model. It is not true. You don't have license to say like that, because statistics has no power to identify the relationship between, it establish the relationship between the variables. It can only identify the relationship if there is a natural relationship. For example, you take the case of the price of salt and price of rice. Sometimes both the price will get increased. Then can you say that the price of rice increased with respect to the price of salt? You cannot say. And sometimes the price of rice will be more and the price of salt will be less. It is decreasing. There is an inverse relationship. So if you construct the model by this procedure, definitely you will get a better relationship. But there is no physical meaning for that. These type of relationships are called pseudo relationship. So this is your duty to ensure that the variables are naturally related. Otherwise, if you want to establish the relationship, you have to do the controlled experiment in the laboratory. That is the way to establish the relationship. So what is this process? The process we use in statistics is, if the variables are naturally related, or if there is an established relationship between the variables, it can identify the type of relationship and it can find out what is the degree of relationship between them. So next, the values of the independent variable x are assumed fixed or not random. The only randomness in the value of y comes from the error type E. The errors EI are normally distributed with the mean 0 and variance sigma square. The errors are uncorrelated are not related in successive observations. So that is, this assumption is very important. The error time follows normal distribution with the mean zero and the variance, constant variance sigma square. So before constructing a linear model, you should check all these assumptions. First, you should check whether the dependent variable follows normal distribution. And even if you find out it follows normal distribution, you have to check whether the variances are constant or not. So now there is a question, how do you check all these things? The normality can be checked by constructing a histogram or box plot or QQ plot or PP plot, etc. Many diagrams are there. Even the constant variance can be checked by just constructing a scatter plot. If the points are distributed within a horizontal band or horizontal or a uniform band along the points, then we say that the variances are constant. But suppose the relation is just like a cone or something, that means one side will be much wider than the other side. That is an indication of non-constant variance. So a simple graphical procedure will give indications of the violation of assumptions. If there are violations of assumptions, you have to go for certain transformations, or there are certain remedial measures to solve out these problems. So these remedial measures are already established. There are many procedures to make the data normal and constant variance. But definitely, if the data not satisfies these assumptions, your model may not have a precise, that means predictive power. So usually people will construct, you see the data, once they obtain the data, they just construct a linear model. Then they say that this is the relationship between the variables. That is totally wrong. So the first step to construct a regression model or a linear model is, first you observe the data, you analyze the data, identify whether there are any outliers or extreme values, and whether the data satisfies all the assumptions required for constructing that model, etc. So if the data satisfies all these assumptions, then you can go for the fitting. And if the data violate the assumptions, you should go for the respective remedial measures, and then only you should go for the construction of the model. So once you construct the regression coefficients, then you can write the regression equation. There are two regression equations, y on x and x on y, depends on the type of relationship. If y is the dependent variable, you can write it as expected value of y given x. And if the relation is dependent variable is x, you can write expected value x given y. And the regression equation of y on x is y minus expected value of y equal to, that is the covariance time y variance of x into x minus x expected value of x. And the regression coefficient beta is the covariance time divided by the variance time. So if the covariance is negative, the slope will be negative. The covariance is positive, the slope will be positive. So in fact, the covariance is the term is most important in constructing the relationship, because which is the indicator of the direction of relationship. Then if we come to this correlation, since you see that a regression which gives the relationship, and the correlation gives the degree of linear association between the variables, or it is a measure of relationship. The regression established the mathematical form, but the correlation gives the degree of association. And in simple correlation, which usually in between -1 and +1. And a rough physical interpretation is rho is -1 indicates a perfect negative linear relationship, and +1 it indicates a perfect positive linear relationship. In between -1 and 0 it indicates negative relation, and 0 to 1 it is positive, and rho equal to 0 there is no linear relationship. So this is the case of rho is equal to -1. Here rho equal to 0. This is rho equal to +1. Here you see a value. This is negative. Its value is -0.78. Okay. Here the rho is equal to 0. Okay. Then here you will get the correlation always gives the perfect linear relationship. Okay. Then this is here rho is equal to 0.78. And the covariance term is defined as expected value of x minus its mean into y minus its mean. And correlation is a standardized measure of covariance. Actually, covariance gives the directional relationship. But the problem is there is no standard range for covariance. It can vary from -infinity to +infinity. Since we need a range of variation for the correlation, otherwise we cannot physically interpret it. So what we do is we just standardize covariance. In order to standardize the term covariance, we divide covariance with the standard deviation of x and standard deviation of y. Okay. So thereby we get the relation, what we call the formula of correlation coefficient as covariance divided by sigma x into sigma y. And the last question is, suppose you constructed the model and you have a regression coefficient. The question is, since it is an estimate, how do you establish that relationship is significant? Significant in the sense that slope is significantly different from 0. In order to establish that relation statistically, you have to test the values of the correlation and as well as the regression coefficient. In order to test the correlation and regression coefficient, we use t-test. So this is the test. The null hypothesis, there is no linear relationship, rho equal to 0. Alternate some linear relationship, rho is not equal to 0. The t statistic is the correlation by square root of 1 minus r squared by n minus 2. And in the previous case, the correlation is obtained as 0.947. And if you compute, it is 15.82. And the table value is 2.756. This is less than the calculated value. So we rejected the null hypothesis at 1% or high 5% level. Okay. Because the calculated value is much higher than the lower value, the table value. Okay. So this is the inferential procedure in regression and the correlation. Any question? These are the points to be conveyed in the case of simple linear model. Any question?
No, sir. Please continue.
So then I will go to the further extension of this linear model, simple linear model, that is called multiple regression models, multiple regression analysis. In many statistical studies, the goal is to establish a relationship expressed via an equation for predicting typical values for one variable given the value of another variable. So this is the equation we already discussed, y equal to a plus bx plus e. And this model can be extended to more number of independent variables. And the resultant model is called multiple linear regression model. Here y equal to a plus b1 x1 plus b2 x2 plus etc. bp xp. So that means there are p deterministic component variables or mathematical variables or independent variables. And together this expression, this is called the deterministic component. What is that? A plus b1 x plus b2 x2 plus b3 x3. Or we call this is the non-part. And all other factors, whether there are systematic errors or random errors, all these factors together is expressed as E, or that is the error type. It also influences Y. And the nature of E is random. The Y is also a random variable. So here Y is a random variable. These are non-random variables or given variables, non-variables. This is unknown. Unknown in the sense there are uncertainty in this. Okay. Here the variables are given. The values are given. And this Y depended on both this one, and this E is unknown. Definitely Y is uncertain or Y is random. And why we fit regression model? The objective of constructing a regression model will differ from person to person. So one may be interested to predict the outcome variable or the dependent variable. And it may be to assess how well the dependent variable can be explained by the independent variable. To identify which subset from many measures is most effective for estimating the dependent variable. Suppose you have a collection of variables in a system, a set of variables in a system. You don't know what are the variables which influence significantly to another variable. So the question is, how do we find out the variables which are significantly related to the dependent variable? Okay, that is called selection of variables. Selection of independent variable is an important area in the construction of model. Then the assumptions. The arrays are normally distributed with the mean 0. The arrays have constant variance. The arrays are independent of each other. The independent variables are not perfectly correlated. All these assumptions are very important. The first one is called the normality assumption. Second one, because since the arrays normally distributed case when the size is large, and if they are exactly arrays, the deviation on either side will be equal. So their sum will be 0. So thereby the mean value will be 0. Then arrays have constant variance because arrays are influenced by same natural factors. Their variances cannot change. Okay. So if there is a constant variance, it indicates that that design is not correct. Okay. So all this thing is connected to or is related to the design of experiment. So if the design is perfect and it will satisfy the assumption, then the arrays are independent of each other. Okay. Then independent variables are not perfectly correlated. So this is the problem of selection of independent variables. Then if the first one is violated, we call it as non-normality. If second is violated, we call it as heteroscedasticity problem. The third one is called autocorrelation. And the fourth one is called multicollinearity. These are the 4 violations of data in the case of a multiple linear regression model. Non-normality, heteroscedasticity, autocorrelation, and multicollinearity. And the task of constructing the model is, we must ensure that the data satisfies all these 4 assumptions and there is no violation on the data assumption. And if there is violation of data assumption, The estimate may be overestimate or it may be underestimate. That means the estimate will not be an unbiased one. And also, the prediction will be wrong. And if the data does not follow normality distribution, you cannot go for the further testing procedure. So these are the problems involved in the violation of assumptions. Now the question, how do we check assumptions? Scatter plots can be used to check the existence of linear relations, constant variance, existence of multicollinearity, and find out errors, outliers. Histogram and normal plots can be used to check the normality assumption. The Durbin-Watson statistic can be used to check serial correlation or autocorrelation. So these are certain graphical procedures, and the Durbin-Watson statistic is a testing, or which is, there are certain values you can compare the value and you can check autocorrelation. And apart from these methods, there are testing procedures for these assumptions. Okay, these things are available in all statistical software. Then once you construct the model, the output of the fitter model, there are certain, I will explain how do we interpret the output of the model, or what are the parameters to be estimated. The first one, capital R. Capital R is multiple correlation coefficient. Okay, we already discussed simple correlation coefficient, that is the correlation between X and Y. Then here there are many independent variables. How do you find out the correlation? It cannot be computed as in the case of simple correlation. So what we do, we take all the linear combination of all the independent variables together and consider it as a set of data. And naturally there the parameter values are unknown. Then there is a question, how do you compute this deterministic component? And once you can compute that linear combination, then it is just like there are two variables and you can compute the correlation. So, but the problem is, for what values will be assigned for these parameters? So multiple correlation is the correlation which maximizes the correlation between the dependent variable and the linear combination of the independent variables. That means the parameter values to be chosen so that the correlation between the dependent variable and the linear combination of the independent variables are maximum. Okay. So that is why we say that R, or capital R, or the multiple correlation coefficient is the maximum correlation between the dependent variable and the linear combination of independent variables. So here I will output a prediction model. We are output as 4968. And it is not easy to physically interpret the value of R. But we take another term which can be easily explained. That is called R square, which is also called coefficient of determination. Coefficient of determination. How do you interpret R? Its value is 0.937. You multiply it with 100, express in percentage, and you can interpret it as 93.7% of the total variation of the dependent variable is explained by the independent variables together. Okay, that means the remaining 6.3% of variation accounted for the random time or error time. So the contribution of the error time or random time is only 6.3%. So if the model is significant, R squared will be large. The model is insignificant, R squared will be much low. If R squared is low, that means the unexplained time will be more. And R squared is high, the unexplained time will be low. And adjusted R squared is another measure because there is a problem in constructing the R square. If you increase the number of independent variables, arbitrarily this R squared will get increased. But there will be a lot of data violations. So you can modify the R squared value by incorporating the number of variables accounted in the model. That modified measure is called adjusted R squared. It will be slightly less than R squared. It is 0.931. So if you choose this adjusted R squared, it will be 93.1% of the variation explained by the independent variables. And this is the post-test model. After constructing the model, this is the ANOVA table, analysis of variance. There the F value is 164.046 and P value is less than 0.01. So we can say that the model is significant at 1% level of significant. Okay. And this is the output of the coefficients and their test. So here I have taken a model with the dependent variable as the female life expectancy. And the independent variables population increase, infant mortality, GDP, because GDP is not normal, I have taken log GDP, transformed variable, birth to death ratio, fertility, male literacy, female literacy, etc. And this output is the unstandardized coefficients. Unstandardized means coefficient which is in their own unit. Since all these variables are different kinds, the units will be different. The units are different, you will not be able to compare it. Okay? But in order to write the regression model, you need the terms of their units. So the B is an unstandardized this one. But this is not capable of, we cannot compare the effect of this independent variables by just comparing these unstandardized coefficients. This is the standard error of the estimate. And this is third column. This is an important statistic which is called the beta value or elasticity. Standardization coefficients. Standardized coefficients. This is a coefficient or relative coefficient without units. By looking at this column, you can say that which variable is the most important one, and the highest value is observed in the case of infant mortality, and which negatively influence the female life expectancy. And GDP is another variable, birth to death ratio, etc. But even there is a problem, even if there are this much variable, whether all the variables are significant or not. In order to establish that, you have to go for t-test for each one. So t-test, and this is the p-value. So the p-value shows that infant mortality is significant at 1%, GDP is significant at 1%, birth to death ratio is significant at 5%, fertility is significant at 1%, and population increase, male literacy, female literacy are not significant. And the last column is collinearity statistics. This is a statistics computed to check whether there is multicollinearity problem. So tolerance is a measure, variance inflation factor is another measure. The interpretation is if VIF is in more than 10, there is a problem of multicollinearity. So regarding the infant mortality, log GDP, birth to death ratio and fertility, there is no problem of multicollinearity. But others have, which is slightly more than 10. Okay, then you can modify the model again, or there are certain procedures to choose the variable, the significant variable among these variables. And some post-analysis of the model. There are many post-analysis. This is a residual analysis. You compute the residual, check the distribution of the data. Okay. So this shows that it is not perfectly normal, but there is no higher variation. So this is one value. Otherwise, it is almost symmetric. And this is another method of checking the normality assumption, etc. If the points are exactly on this 45-degree line, we say that the data is perfectly normal. Here there are slight changes from this normality, but there is no serious violation of the normality problem. And these are the steps we use in the constructing model. So now we have 5 more minutes. If anybody have any question regarding that, I shall answer.
Now is the time for discussion. Participants, if any queries, you can interact with the resource person.